Hello, everyone. I am back from the Pro Tour. I played something pretty close to this list. Went 7-3 in Constructed, 2-4 in Draft, ended up with $0, 1 extra pro point, and I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I like my deck. I like my metagame reads and everything, so I am back ready to play some Magic with this deck because it was a ton of fun. How did I play this deck? Man, that is going down the rabbit hole. I don't know. Like, my deck selection process for PTs is getting like weirder and weirder as I try different things, and I don't know. Honestly, I think decks like this going forward are probably going to be my go-to just because they're not really bad against anything. They have some early creatures, so you get to play like a little bit of a beatdown game. There is a lot of card advantage, so you keep doing stuff like even into like the later stages of the game, which is nice. Allows you to keep up with fatter control decks. And this one is kind of weird because it happens to have like a couple different combo finishes, so I don't think that's going to be the norm with most standard decks, but hey, you know, Felidar Guardian, Saheeli Rai is a thing, so we're going to play with it. And basically, this is a value deck that is slowly going to attack your opponent and kind of pick apart their board, gain card advantage, and then if you have a chance to combo them, by all means do that. But this is not a deck that is like only looking to set up the combo, and like that is all this deck does. So it's kind of cool in that it doesn't really care, and then sometimes the combo happens, and in the meantime your opponent has to live in fear of this. And if it means like they always have to keep mana open, they always have to sandbag a removal spell, that's great, because then it means they're just going to let things like Rogue Refiner just continually hit them. And then it's pretty easy to actually just tempo them out with things like Elder Deep Fiend. And Elder Deep Fiend is just kind of like perfect in this deck because you have all these little creatures that ETB give you value, in this case like generally just energy, but if you're like making some Thopters to block, drawing cards making energy, like these make good bodies for Deep Fiend to sacrifice. And Deep Fiend goes well with your creature beatdown plan because it's just like this big, huge tempo monster. And it also goes well with the combo plan because it allows you to tap them out in case they're holding removal or counterspell or red mana for an Implement of Combustion or a Dynavolt Tower or whatever. Like Deep Fiend just kind of like solves all the problems. And that is basically why I pulled the trigger on this deck. So, a little bit into testing, Matt Nass and Josh Layton suggested that I add some Aetherworks Marvels to my deck. I obliged them. I added one. It was very good. I added a second copy. Turns out it's the best card against black-green. I added a third copy, post-Pro Tour. I think sideboard is like a reasonable place for a fourth copy if you really, really, really want to hammer black-green. But I think this deck is doing an okay job at that anyway, so I'm fine with 3 Marvels. The reason for only 3 is like you don't have green puzzle knots. You're not making like a ton of energy. You're never going to have like 20 energy lying around. That's just absurd. But you will have 6 at different intervals. And basically like the Marvel comes down, you'll get to use it either the turn you play it or the turn after you play it, almost certainly. And then going forward, it's kind of like an every other turn sort of thing. Like you're going to Marvel into a spell that makes energy, and then maybe some of your permanents are going to die. You're going to play some more permanents, make some more energy, and then you'll be able to Marvel again. And that also gives you a lot of looks at finding combo pieces. So, especially when you're marveling up Felidar Guardian that blinks in Oath of Nissa and whatnot. So, deck is pretty cool. I would say that baseline strat is attack them, control the board. Like, depends on what your draw is, depends on what their draw is, depends on what they're trying to do. You know, if they're vehicles, obviously you're not the beatdown deck because you're not going to win that race, but if they are control, you are definitely a beatdown deck. Like the points of damage matter, like it all matters, you know. And then the combo is just kind of this thing that happens incidentally. Changes from my Pro Tour deck: I added the 3rd Marvel, cut a Four Saheeli, cut a land for a shock. I also changed the mana base because my sideboard doesn't have like a Bant tempo deck in it anymore. I'm lower on Spell Queller and Tamiyo if there are not actual mirrors in the format, and I think my sideboard is now better against pure control. So mana base changed slightly. There are less white sources. I had Inspiring Vantage, but I would much prefer to have Spire Bluff Canal so I can cast Rogue Refiner, Deep Fiend, and whatnot. I used to have 2 Evolving Wilds. I think Lumbering Falls is probably just a better Evolving Wilds because it definitely makes green, definitely makes blue, and the creature land helps with your tempo plan. So the mana base now is just rock solid. It's just really good. I have a game trail, which should probably just be a forest, but I want to try it. I felt like with the tune and Oathedness and stuff, you'd probably end up with a decent amount of forests, and forest might be one of the last lands you play because you generally start with like Lumbering Falls, the fast lands, and then the Aether Hubs, and then the basics are kind of like the last things you do. So it felt like Game Trail might be on, even if I draw it on like turn 6. But that's about it for the main deck. I don't think there's anything that I would really want to do differently. I mean, I'm like less on the combo, so I cut a Saheeli, which I think is fine because this is just not a card you really want to draw in a lot of matchups, especially as the format gets faster and there are more beatdown decks. So I think going down to 3 on this is fine, but otherwise, like, all the cards just kind of have their place, you know? So I'm pretty happy with this main deck. Obviously, the Shock is kind of weird, but I just want another removal spell. Kill Cubs, kill Toolcraft Exemplars, whatever. And then the sideboard, we have 2 natural states, 2 Kozilek's returns, 4 vehicles. I think the 3rd K return was a little overkill because after you sweep their board the first time, they don't really have like a great follow-up, so there's diminishing returns on K return certainly. I'm trying an Ishkanah because this deck can get Delirium. It's not easy, but it can, and Ishkanah is one of the best cards against them. So I don't know. I probably need Wilds back in the mana base if I realistically want to consider this, and maybe it's just bad because I'll need like sorcery, instant, creature, enchantment because like my artifacts aren't going to die. Maybe my planeswalkers die, but I cut all my Saheelis against them anyway, generally. So yeah, I need to draw like multiple Oath of Nisas, one lightning, one attune, and have a creature die in order for this thing to be on. So seems very unlikely, but I thought I'd give it a shot. I have Brawl's Expertise, which is one of the best cards against black-green. Initially, I was like, oh, I want these Fumigates, or I need a way to kill Walking Ballista because the games would go on long because I'm just like marveling a bunch, accruing value, and they'd just be like, all right, I have a 10-10 Ballista. What are you going to do, you know? So I was like, well, maybe I'll play a Natural Obsolescence over one of my natural states and continue to play these Fumigates, but obviously to play Fumigate, you just have to bastardize your mana base. Like, it's so ugly. And then once I realized I could just play Brawl's Expertise and basically get the exact same thing that I wanted, oh man, it was beautiful. Now my deck is just basically Teamer. I'm splashing 1 white card. It's almost free because I have Servants and Hubs, and then there's just a random Plains in my deck. But man, like the deck is so smooth now. It's so good. I just love it. Brawl's Expertise kind of like solved all my problems. And I would strongly consider running a 3rd copy if you really want to hammer black-green. Other than that, I have Tracker basically instead of my Tamiyo Spell Queller stuff. I felt like I wanted a Corsair Crew Fix, a Divination, something like that, something that would like allow me to continue making land drops, and Tracker is perfect for that. Plus, hard card drawing is really nice when your deck is full of counterspells, so definitely going up to 3 negates. I like this to stop Fumigate, win counter wars, counter their planeswalkers, stop their combo. It does not stop Torrential Gearhulk. That's the main issue, but you can normally work around that. And then I have a couple Dispels, basically just to win counter wars and force through things like Aetherworks Marvel. My original plan was like, well, I'm just going to cut these Marvels, I guess, because they're slow and clunky and get nabbed by negates and stuff. And now it's just like, nah, I want all the Marvels. I want to be super threat dense, and I want to win the counter wars. So if I was going to Grand Prix Pittsburgh this weekend, this is what I would play. This list right here. Except for maybe cut Ishkanah for Brawl's Expertise, but hey, I want to try it. So let's see.